Hello everyone, let's talk about what I think is going to be good for the first global challenge and what to expect from Regulation F going forward. I guess I don't need the headphones, I keep forgetting I don't need these. So first of all, we got Cresselia Ursaluna. Now this is just a standard Cresselia Ursaluna team, but I think on the whole these teams are going to be fairly popular in the global challenge. The matchup spread for Ursaluna is really strong right now, and I think as a whole, having this Trick Room option without having to rely on Porygon is nice. Plus you get the Lunar Blessing, which can really mess up a lot of teams that focus on slowly chipping your team down, along with the standard Bolt Balance kind of esque core that you can really just substitute in on any matchup where you don't really want to bring the Cresselia. So it does give you a lot of interesting tools and a lot of interesting matchups that are pretty good. Plus I think there's a lot of unique sets you can run. Like you can run probably AV on this, you could run like Goggles on this, you can run like Mental or run this. There's just so many different items you can run. And I think that because of that, this team is going to be very popular in the global challenge. Now I expect a lot of these Cresselia are going to go to Terra Steel, because Landers can be quite a big issue for these teams. Substitute Landers especially can be kind of a pain. So I think a lot of these Crest will probably go to like maybe Psychic and Terra Steel, and that way the Crest can just 1v1 the Landers in the end game. But on the whole, I still do think this team is going to be very strong, and I think this is going to be something that we are going to see doing well in the global challenge. The next thing I want to talk about is this Gouging Fire, Dragonite, Pow, Tinglu, Amoonguss, Gyapdos team. Now, we've seen this team in use. Elizabeth was using it with the Sinistra, but a lot of players are opting to now use Amoonguss with Sludge Bomb over that Sinistra, and a lot of people are also attacking Taunt on the Gyapdos instead of Dual Wing Beat, because the P2 Ursa and the Cress Ursa matchups are not very good with this team. So what a lot of people have been doing is putting this Taunt to give you options. You can taunt the P2, stop it from getting Trick Room up, and it also gives like Gyapdos a lot more tools in other matchups as well, like against Amoonguss and whatnot. But I think on the whole, Taunt is mostly used for those kind of Cresselia and P2 teams. But apart from that, like the Gouging Fire is pretty standard. I'm sure a lot of them could go Terra Grass, and I'm sure a lot of them can go Burning Bulwark, but I think a lot of them are also Protect. The logic being you don't want to get spored through your Burning Bulwark, and at the end of the day, like you don't really need to be burning physical attackers because you have that coaching. Plus you have just so many strong physically defensive Pokemon like that Dragonite, the Gouging Fire, the Amoonguss, the Tinglu, that you're probably like getting more value from not being spored than you are from getting the burn on a lot of things. So I think that's really just depends on player preference. I think both moves are very strong, but I think Protect may be a little bit more consistent, just so that you're not obviously getting hit with that Spore or that Parting Shot through the Burning Bulwark. Now, the interesting thing about this Dragonite is it's kind of the same as it always has been, but there's also like a big debate on whether it should be Inner Focus or Multi-Skill. I don't like. I think both of them are good. I think Inner Focus might be a bit better. I think like players are starting to lean more towards consistency in more matchups, opposed to having like really dominant matchups and then weaker points, because with multi-skill, your instant matchup is maybe not the best because you're kind of relying on Tinglu and Gyapdos to do everything. So I think with with Inner Focus, you're actually getting more skill shots off. You're allowing yourself to just sit in front of instant. You're not getting faked out by Rillaboom, and it just gives you a lot more options. Like even if you're running Burning Bulwark on this combined with Inner Focus on this, you kind of just like farm the instant Rillas, because like they're not going to want to fake out the gouging because the Rilla does not going to want to get burned. But then they also can't really damage Dragonite. You just click like Howl and Scale Shot and just start like messing stuff up. But on the whole, I think like in the ability for Dragonite is really up for debate. So this is the POW. Another question is it Adamant? Is it Jolly? Most POWs are literally just 252, 252 with 4. So the question is it Jolly? Is it Adamant? I don't know. I think, again, it depends on player preference. This team is also probably going to be something good to look into for the Global Challenge because there's so much customization that you can do on this team. I think there's also a world where you go Stellar on this. Like, there's just so much you can do with this POW that, like, no matter what version of the team you're facing, if you played this team every round, you could have a different ability on every Pokemon or something different between every Pokemon, which just makes it really interesting, very customizable for the player. So this Tinglu, I feel like is the most straightforward piece on this team. There's not really much you can really do. Like, this is just kind of what you run on this Tinglu. I mean, you can choose if it's shiny or not, but apart from that, like, this Tinglu is really just, it's just a Tinglu. Like, it does Tinglu things. That's Throat Chop, EQ, Terra Blast. An interesting thing to note is often when you're using this team, you want to click Terra Blast over a Throat Chop because you don't want to make contact with things. So you don't want to get like Spiky Shielded or whatever. But on the whole, both are like the same base power. This blocks like moves like Perish Song, which is good for the Perish teams. I don't think anyone's going to use Perish, but if they are, you can use Throat Chop. And then Amoonguss. Now, Amoonguss, like, you can run Citrus Berry, you can run Rocky Helmet. Rocky Helmet's probably better. You can run Terra Water, you can run Terra Fairy. Terra Fairy is probably better, but again, up to you. I think there's a world where maybe you run Clear Smog for Dondozo, because I'm sure Dondozo might also be something to look into going into the Global Challenge, but there's not really any clear best Dondozo team right now. Actually, that's not true. But I think like other than the Glim one, the Glim Grass Pond one, I think like you probably want Clear Smog on this, but Sludge Bomb is also good into other things, so again, up to you. And then the Gyarados, obviously, you could run, you can run Dual Wing Beat. You can either run Dual Wing Beat or Taunt on this. I think a lot of people are doing either. I feel like Taunt's probably better because like Dual Wing Beat, like yeah, you can hit Landorus without taking chip, but like at the end of the day, the world where you're in an endgame with just a Landorus versus your Gyarados in a 1v1, like I feel like you wouldn't really realistically want to play toward that, and even then, I think if you have enough bulk, there's a world where you can win that. So, I think Taunt is probably better, but you can do either. Okay, so next I want to talk about this Terapagos team. Now, you might be thinking, Terapagos is banned. You can't use Terapagos. Well, that's true, but this is pretty much just Terapagos. It plays the same way. So this team has been seeing some usage on like a higher ladder and in some tournaments. It's literally just Terapagos, Screamtail, Heatran, which has been used in Regulation G. I would know. I used it. I love it. It's a fun team. But I will say, I did try this team, and this team does play quite different. Because with the Terapagos team, what you would do is you pretty much just lead Raging Bolt or Terapagos Rilla every single game, and then your back mons would change. But this, like Raging Bolt is not as good as Terapagos. People will probably disagree, but it's just factually just not as good. I mean, sure, the stats are maybe a bit better distributed, but on the whole, like you're not getting the Terra Shell, and you're not really getting any use of Photosynthesis for the most part on this team. So the idea with Terapagos is you can just heal and farm Terra Shell. You can't really do this with this Raging Bolt. This Raging Bolt is going to be taking more damage than the Terapagos will be. So it's not really as consistent of a setup piece. So what a lot of people have been doing is running like something like Rock Pond Heatran and not bringing this Raging Bolt every game like you would with the other Terapagos team. But on the whole, I think this team is pretty good. I think it plays a lot differently than it did in the past formats, but I think this team has similar aspects. Like you're not going to be doing the exact same thing every game like you were last time, but you do have these pieces that you are familiar with. A big change is Heatran was Terra Fairy or Terra Grass on this team before with usually Earth Power as the last slot to beat the opposing Heatrans. I actually had a really cool tech on my team where I had Min Speed Heatran with Speed Investment because a lot of people... No, it was Speed minusing Nature with Speed Investment because what people would do is they would run Heatran with a Speed minusing Nature to not weaken the Heavy Slam so you kill the Flutters, but then I put my Speed in because I figured that no one else was going to do that, and then I was faster than every Heatran. So... That was fun, but I think on the whole, the Bug Terra makes more sense for this kind of format. Yeah, so you're only weak to Flying, Rock, and Fire, which, I mean, obviously you're not really weak to Fire, so you're only weak to Rock and Flying, which are really not popular types at all. Plus you resist Fighting and Ground, which is huge, so it's good into Landorus. It's better into Landorus than Grass would be, and then Fairy would be, so that's kind of the logic with Bug. And then Screamtail, this is classic. I've seen a lot of people run Terra Steel. I mean, I like Terra Grass just because you can sit in front of Amoonguss and, like, disable stuff, but doesn't really matter. I think both are probably good. This is classic. People on this team, you always want to run Deagleam. I know people running Play Rough. I don't really understand that because Screamtail is not really doing any good damage anyways. I think I'd rather chip both slots and not miss than click Play Rough, but I think it's up to the player. And then this instant, in the past formats, it was knockoff Will-O-Wisp, but this one is Taunt because Taunt, like, you're not really wisping anything in this format anyways. Taunt is more valuable for those Raging Bolts. And then Rilla, a lot of them are running high horsepower, but I think U-turn as a pivoting move is also very good, so again, depends on the player. Now I want to talk about this Hisuian Lilligant Torkoal team. Now this team did well in the global, not the global challenge, sorry, the Victory Road challenge. I'm going to close the bug type chart so I don't look like an idiot. But yeah, so this team did well in the December Victory Road challenge, and I think it's kind of interesting because Hisuian Lilligant in the global challenge is a menace because obviously you don't know if it's going to be Stellar or Ghost, you don't know if it's going to have Upper Hand, you don't know if it's going to have Protect, so it's very, very scary to go up against, especially with the variants of Sleep Powder. It always seems that your opponents will hit every Sleep Powder and you'll miss everyone, so it's very frustrating to play against, but I think that's part of the reason why it's good. It's also important to mention that you can also run After You, and just After You Specs Eruption things on this team, because most people are going to expect it to be that Heat Rock. So I think this is another good call for the global challenge because, again, you can really switch the sets around and the team will still function relatively similarly. So I think that's interesting. I think a lot of people are probably slotting Friggraph on this team as well for a Trick Room option for that Torkoal and that Raging Bolt. I don't really know. Maybe it'd be Landorus that's getting kicked off, but I'm not exactly sure what you would do for that. Yeah, so, and then we have this Walking Wake, this Cloak Walking Wake. Now, Walking Wake is actually very fast. Like, if you're looking at, like, what you want to invest, like, you probably want to be a speed boosting nature, so... This is like, if you probably would not want to go max. I'm just like throwing together a spread. Like this is probably fine. But like this is as probably as fast as they're going to go realistically. But 176 is fast. Like you're outspeeding like not POW, but like anything under POW. And if you feel you're SPing Landorus actually as well. And the thing is, your cloak and you're getting that booster speed, which is insane because they can't really fake out you because of the cloak or slow you down or flinch you for that matter. So you're actually in very, very good shape with this wake. I think the Specs Flutter is interesting. Like, I think Torkoal Flutter as a lead is very, very strong. If you guys watched my tournament video, you would know Torkoal Flutter, very, very strong. It is a very, very good lead option, and it's a very, very strong back Pokemon as well. Now, there's Lendo Sanseer. A lot of them are sub, but I think, like, again, Poison versus Steel player preference. Sanseer, I don't know about Sanseer on a Sun team, plus, like, Sleep Powder. Like, with this team, you're going to be missing a lot. But if you hit, you're going to be in such a better position. So if you really like gambling, then this team is probably for you. If you don't, then maybe stay away. And then I think it's nice to have this Dragon Pulse consistent kind of defensive bolt. A lot of them are Terra Electric E-Webs, but this one, like, you don't really need the speed control because, like, you have this Lilligant, you have the Walking Wake, you have the Flutter, you have so many fast pieces that you're really only there, like, helping speed control for, like, Lando and Torkoal and maybe your Bolt, but these pieces are bulky and you probably aren't going to be using them to take out the fast pieces anyway, so I think it makes sense. Snarl is nice. I think a lot of them are switching to E-Webs, like I said, but I think Snarl's still good for some matchups that maybe this team might struggle against. Okay, so I got these spreads from Battle Room. I don't know if these are accurate. I don't know what they are. I just took them. So just for the sake of showing you guys the team, but this is Kinagawa's team from the Summit Invitational, and it actually has a Thundy on it. Now, Thundy obviously has Eerie Impulse to slow down the Bolt. It has T-Wave to pair everything, Wild Bolt, which is just its attack, and then Taunt to stop Mungus. So Thundy is a very, very good support piece that I think is very underutilized in the format right now, and a lot of people are probably going to see success with it in this global challenge. This Rillaboom is high horsepower, not very offensive, but pretty fast. Incin, Shuka Berry, obviously to survive the ground moves from Landorus, and then you have high attack Incin, which is not something a lot of people are going to be expecting, so this will be probably a very good call for the global challenge. Sanseer, I don't know if you really want to miss, but at the end of the day, you do have Bundle, so you can just Icy Wind Sanseer stuff, and like if you're hitting both of those, like you're in a really good position. Encore Bundle is also very strong for the global challenge because a lot of people are going to expect you to be that Hydro Pump, but obviously Kinagawa doesn't want to miss Hydro Pump, so obviously Encore is here. Plus, you also have this Mystic Ursh. I think Iron Bundle and Thundy are such good speed control that you can really afford to not run necessarily the fastest pieces on your team. Like, these four are not necessarily the fastest Pokemon in the format, but they are very hard hitting, especially these two. So I think having this kind of speed control is very, very, very helpful, especially with this bundle and this Thundy. And not a lot of people are going to be expecting this, especially people who maybe aren't as kept up with the metagame or who have been taking a break and aren't really sure what to expect from this Thundy and this bundle. I think you're going to be like catching a lot of people off guard with these sets. Okay, so I wanted to talk about how Bolt Balance is kind of, this is not Bolt Balance, how Flutterhark is kind of falling in usage. Now, Flutterhark was like the team to beat going into the global, not the global challenge, sorry, the Victory Road tournament, the third one in the December challenge. But I think as of the new year, people have really stopped using it. I don't know if people are just like, new year, new me, New Year's resolution, don't be a terrible person, but I think on the whole, this team is just not as strong as it was before. I think this matchup in Gyaptos Tinglu is maybe not the strongest, and I think there's just a lot of things that would beat this team now, and people know how to play it. Banders is one thing that beats this team, another good thing to look at for the global challenge, but there's just so many things that this team just struggles into now because people have been hyper focused on beating it that it isn't as popular. Maybe for the regional, for Toronto, people will try and pick up this team again just because there's not going to be like the people who like, if I had to guess, this team probably is not going to perform very well in the global challenge, and because of that, people will stop teching for it. And then maybe in Toronto in like 2 weeks, people will start considering this team again. But I don't know. I think again, it just depends. It just depends on what you want to use. I don't think this team is going to perform well in the global challenge, but I think it might do well in Toronto, or a variation of it might do well in Toronto. I also want to talk about how Bolt Balance is actually rising in usage with the Flutterhark kind of falling off. Bolt Balance, that just allows you to outplay your opponent, has been doing well. This is just an example that I took from the Victory Road tournament. I don't know if this is the most updated Bolt Balance, but on the whole, I think Bolt Balance is still very strong. It's a very strong option if you just want to outplay your opponent. I think this Fire Pond especially is very, very well positioned for the global challenge because obviously you got that Mold Breaker for the Heatran, and plus you have that Terrifier Ivy Cudgel, which is doing a crap ton. Then you got the Flutterman, you got the Bolt for the bundle and the Thundy, and like there's just so much stuff you have here for the metagame. So many tools that just allow you to play better. So if you're confident in yourself and your play, this is probably a very, very good team to pick up for the global challenge if you don't have anything already. So that's everything I have to talk about. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you guys have any questions, leave them in the comments. I don't know I don't know if you guys like the global challenge or not. Let me know how you think of it, because I kind of don't like them. But I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. I hope you guys have fun in the global challenge. Goodbye.